We'll say more about that later. The year is 2016. At that time, believe it or not, the internet was around and things were happening, but it wasn't so widespread that even the youngest kids, but nowadays the youngest kids are walking around with iPhones or smartphones or whatever it is, but that time, not so much. In the year 2016, the CDC came out with a report that said that 1 in 6, now pay attention to these numbers, 1 in 6 American children between the ages of 2 and 8 had been diagnosed with psychological or mental illness in some form or fashion in 2016. So if you want to blame the internet for these things, if you want to blame all of the stuff, if you want to blame TikTok and you want to blame all that stuff, guys, certainly it does contribute to it. But the fact of the matter is, there has been something going on in our society for quite some time, and it is something that is now bearing the fruit that it is planted. And that is the number one medication that is prescribed in the United States of America, antidepressant. The number one problem that is going on among our children and in our schools, mental illness and loneliness. Where did this come from? Why did it happen? And why aren't our solutions working? We are now the most counseled, the most therapyized. I just made that up. We're the most therapy-driven society in the history of the world. And now listen, if you think for 1 second that this is a sermon against therapy, you're wrong. Trust me, my therapist and I would disagree with you strongly. But I want you to notice something. That even with the best, watch this, gang, even with the best of intentions, if you are unaware of the actual problem that is going on, the solutions you provide without the gift of discernment to see clearly what is happening, you will be led to an ending that you do not want. A recent book just came out by a lady by the name of Schreier. The book is entitled Bad Therapy: Why Our Kids Aren't Growing Up. And in that book, which I recommend to you, Abigail Schreier also began uncovering the things that were going on in the field of psychology. By the way, did you know that the field of psychology is the only medical field? Now, I'm not talking about psychiatry. If it's a medical practice, by law, medical practice must report, watch this, must report any adverse side effects to any medication they prescribe. Did you know that? By law, a medical professional, if he prescribes a medicine or if she prescribes a medicine, they must report any negative side effects that medicine produces. Psychologists are not required. They're not required to report that their pattern of therapy that they put this person on had a bad side effect. What's happening actually, brothers and sisters, is that we are training our children to be narcissists in this society. Here, honey, no, you didn't win, but here's a trophy for you. Because you tried. Now, don't get me wrong. That's great. That's wonderful. Why is that bad? But angels, if you don't look and don't know how to discern what is going to be the end result of that mindset, you're not being an adult. Being able to discern is part of being a mature person. How do you do that? Well, I'm glad you're here today because I'm going to tell you. The path to discernment, brothers and sisters, is exactly the reason why the faith gives us the story of the prodigal son after the Sunday of the publican and the Pharisee. The publican and the Pharisee last Sunday was about don't be like him, be like him. But how do you discern how to be like either? How do you discern whether you're like either one of them? How do you know? Well, brothers and sisters, the reason why you do that, oh, and by the way, Paul's letter to the Corinthians actually meshes perfectly with our gospel lesson today as well. And I'll tell you about that in just a second. But the reality is, if you're going to be mature, watch this, folks. If you're going to be mature, then you're not going to have a life that is dedicated to your happiness. That's not mature. That's a 3-year-old. I want to be happy. Well, then you're a child. I'm sorry, guys. And you know why? It's not wrong to be happy. It's wonderful to be happy. I love being happy. Last night I was happy. And I showed my happiness because I, cut a rug. So I love being happy. It's not wrong to be happy, folks. It's wrong to make your life about happiness because happiness is so very, very susceptible to external circumstances that can make you unhappy. And when you make yourself a slave to that which is around you, when you make yourself a slave to the external circumstances in your life that everybody faces, folks, everybody faces tough times. Everybody faces difficult times. Everybody faces hard times. Everybody faces scary times. Everybody. And if your life is dedicated to happiness, in those moments when you're scared or you're worried or you're fearful or you're disappointed or you're angry or you're jealous or you're envious, anytime that happens, all of a sudden I'm not happy. My life must be meaningless. And that's a lie. It is better, brothers and sisters, to adopt the pathway of maturity that says like the prodigal and says like the Apostle Paul tells the Corinthians, your stomach was made for food and food was made for the stomach, and God's going to destroy both of them. Do not base your life on that which is temporary. Do not base your life on what you want. Base your life on who is true. And that, my angels, is Jesus Christ. Don't base your life on your desires or you're going to be drug around by everything. I want an ice cream cone. I want a cupcake. I want to go over here. No, I'd rather go over here. And you find your life being lived in such a way that nobody can depend on you. Nobody can nobody can have any confidence in you because every time you have a little desire, you're off to the races. No, angels. The fact of the matter is, if you're going to be mature, if you're going to be discerning, you're going to have to tame your desires to be your servants, or you will be a slave to what you want, rather than a son or a daughter of God made to stand in glorious communion with Him throughout eternity. What do you want? Slavery or sonship? Having your life carried away with every whim and wind that goes through? I can't believe. You know me, guys. You know me well enough to know I follow the current events and politics and things like that. And I have noticed that some of my friends, especially on social media, did you hear? Did you hear what happened? We finally got it. Now we have the proof. Now everything's going to come down. I got a buddy of mine who is absolutely obsessed with inside information, and he keeps telling me all the time. He said, "Now, Barney, no, you can't call me Barney." He said, "Now, Barney, I want you to do you have water stored up? Conspiracy theories all over the place. Do you have water stored? You have 3 months of got 3 months of food ready? Because I know I've told you a couple of years ago it was happening, but this time it really is. It's really happening. So if you follow, look at the politics that's going on. Look at the madness that's going on in society. Look at how people are immediately upset and absolutely frothing at the mouth over any little thing. Goodness gracious alive. I saw Rachel Maddow on MSNBC go absolutely bananas, saying if he wins, he'll never leave again. And look, she's miserable. Everybody on the right's miserable. Everybody on the left's miserable. And the reason why? They're all focused on the temporary. They're enslaved to it. And the end result, my angels, is a perpetual immaturity where people act like 14-year-olds instead of grown people. I now have all teenagers in my house, Lord Jesus Christ. Have mercy on me. But I love it. I love it. It's fine. It's great. But the reality is, my job as a parent is to bring those teenagers through this time where they're doing things for the first time all over the place. They're driving for the first time. They're getting in relationships for the first time. They're having friends not be friends anymore for the first time. And the whole point of my job as a father is to navigate them through that moment so that they learn how to live their lives based on maturity and not on the whim and whimsy of things that are going good or going bad or everything in between. What I'm afraid of or what I'm afraid of or what I'm elated over. Both of those places lead me to delusion, and I'm meant to live in reality. And reality demands discernment. And discernment says, don't spend your life building it on the temporary. Focus your life. And amazingly, my angels, when you do that, when you decide to exercise your will, to choose, no, I am going to make sure that Jesus Christ is at the highest point of my life, not my desires, not my wants, not my immediate desires. Trust me, angels, I've learned this the hard way. I've learned it the hard way. I spent 60 plus years of my life feeding the desire for different foods and bad foods for me. And now I've become one of those disgustingly aggravating thin people who want to tell you, oh, this is what you need to do. Oh, that's what you need to do. I know. But the reality is, finally waking up to stop indulging myself and saying that there's more freedom in discipline, there's more discernment in discipleship, there's more happiness and joy in following Jesus Christ and making my decisions based on truth rather than the changing tide of this is good for you and that's good for you. By the way, when I was growing up, eggs were fantastic for you. Then they became horrible for you. And now they're fantastic again. How in the world do you plan on building a life on something that shifts around that much, brothers and sisters? How can you build a solid life on something that's constantly shifting like that? Escape, my angels. You're being invited to. Today, the prodigal son comes to himself. And that, my brothers and sisters, is the exact point of Great Lent in our lives. It is the ability to have the courage to finally wake up and be in my right mind and live a pattern of life that reflects maturity and discernment, not the immediate gratification or the feeding of my anger or my emotions or blowing up or calming down or hiding behind, but living life fully in the light of the love of Jesus Christ, who is standing on the road right now of your life, waiting for you to come home. Waiting for you to dare to actually embrace the glorious eternal wisdom of discernment and choosing eternal things rather than giving your life away to temporary things. Lord Jesus stands on the road of your life right now, this morning, in this place. And I don't care if you've followed him for years or you're just now beginning to follow Christ. Even if you're just a catechumen, right now, once again, the church brings us to Great Lent, and she gives us the prodigal son, and she puts before us the question, do you have the guts to come home? You can. All you got to do is do it. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Thank you so much for watching. I pray this was a blessing to you. If it is a blessing to you, please don't forget to like and subscribe and share these videos. It really does help us a great deal. Speaking of helping us, if you'd like to support this media outreach, go to our Patreon site at Faith Encouraged on patreon.com. You can also visit us at our website at faithencouraged.org and write me at frbarnabas@faithencouraged.org. I look forward to seeing you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. God bless you.